Christopher Ward makes some fantastic watches, but is this one of them? Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Look, I'm well aware that Christopher Ward has their fair share of detractors. Those people who don't want to wear another man's name on their wrist. I've never understood that one myself. I fully understand though the people who objected to that bizarre insistence on the logo placement at 9 o'clock, the number of different logos they've had over the years, no history and heritage, they're only 10 years in operation, and they don't have the same profile overseas as they do in the UK, being a proudly British brand. But if you are on board despite all of that, or perhaps because some of that, I think you get more for your money with Christopher Ward than you do from any other entry-level Swiss brand, including Oris, Longines and a number of others. They really do make a fantastic watch. Now this C65 Super Compressor is not a new model. They launched it late last year and I haven't just bought it. It's kindly on loan to the channel from the mysterious Mr. P, the man with 400 plus watches. You can give him a follow on Instagram if you want. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. His Instagram is pretty much a sneak preview of what I've got coming up on the channel because he loans me a ton of watches for review. Thank you very much, Mr. P. Now this Super Compressor is actually a super compressor. It's not just a dual crown inner rotating bezel compressor style dive watch. That line should be familiar. All of the other watches that I've reviewed with dual crowns over the last 5 years haven't actually been super compressors. This one is. It genuinely gets more water resistant the more water pressure is put upon it. But the eternal question remains, is it any good? Let's flip the camera and find out. Indeed, let's get on with it. Now, Mr. P didn't actually give me a box for this one, he just gave me the watch. So here is some historical footage of a previous Christopher Ward being unboxed. At this point, I would normally be praising them for their fully biodegradable packaging. They use wood, they use cardboard, and they use paper. No packaging peanuts in sight, no bubble wrap anywhere, no plastic. Thumbs up Christopher Ward for saving the planet for us. I would also be praising them at this point for their best in class support package. 60-day return to base, 60-month, that's 5-year warranty on the movement. Like I said, you get more from Christopher Ward than you do from any other comparable product at its price. And I think that is a good looking watch. So Christopher Ward have resurrected the Super Compressor case. It's the first genuine Super Compressor to come to market in nearly 50 years, but they have resisted the temptation to go full retro. No faux Tina in sight with this one. They have gone blue and orange though. Interesting colour combination, but one I personally enjoy. Have you looked at the channel logo recently? So it's 41mm in diameter, 13.7 thick, but a nice and compact 47mm lug to lug. They're referring to this one as their new light catcher cushion case. This light catcher thing has become a bit of a Christopher Ward trademark. All it means is there are a number of facets, high polished chamfered edges here and there. I'll show you them in just a minute or two, but it is a very pleasing effect. 22mm lug width. Now they could have gone 20 here, but they've chosen to go 22. They have, however, combined that lug width with a nice taper on the bracelet down to just under 18, back up to just under 20 at the clasp. Now sized up for Mr. P, I would probably have added one extra link here. Sized up for him, it's 151 grams. Probably 5 more grams therefore to size it up for the average 7-inch wrist. All stainless construction, so that light catcher cushion case is 316L stainless steel. Fixed bezel, very slim bezel on this one. The bezel actually sits inboard, so it's only 39mm across the bezel, so you're trimming 1mm off either side. Dual 7mm crowns. It's a full stainless steel bracelet with quick release solid end links. Now only a push and collar system. This watch is £1,000, that's roughly 1750 Aussie dollars or about 1250 US dollars. Pin and collar system, yeah, it's okay at that price, if not anything special. It is a fairly solid clasp though, proper milled dual security pushers, etched with the Christopher Ward logo there, which is a really nice touch, and their dual flag logo etched on top. And this one has got built-in on the fly adjustment, which is fantastic. So even though I needed an extra link, it still fits. So these light catcher cases then, not only are they really good to look at, They also wear very comfortably. There's a high polish undercut here, making the watch look and feel a little bit slimmer on wrist than it actually is. Very fine brushing to the mid case. There's a high polish chamfer running from lug tip to lug tip. Circular brush on the upper edge there, and a two-stage high polish bezel. Now that is a lovely piece of double dome. It's kind of boxed double dome sapphire crystal there, and you do get a nice bit of distortion at the edges of the viewing angle. Twin 7mm crowns as mentioned. The one at the 4 o'clock operates the movement, and again it has that dual flag logo there, nice and grippy. Now the one operating the inner rotating bezel, I'll show you the operation of both of these in just a second, has the classic cross hatching that was a bit of a trademark on all the old compressor cases of the 60s and the 70s, and that anodized orange ring is a nice reference to the case back itself. Again, I'll show you that in just a second. Now the bracelet isn't particularly fancy, it's just a kind of 3-link oyster style, but it's nicely done. Nice smooth brushing on there, no sharp edges, and I do appreciate the taper down from 22 to 18. It does have a male protruding mid-link of the end link though, but again that's angled down in line with the case, so it doesn't wear like a bigger watch than a 41. Let's talk about these two crowns then. The one at 4 o'clock, as mentioned, operates the movement as you would expect, and it is screwed down also as you would expect. However, in spite of the new old technology, the resurrection of the super compressor case, this watch only has 150 meters of water resistance. Pretty much a case of engineering for the sake of engineering this. You know, modern materials, modern tooling, modern equipment mean that you don't have to have spring clips and retainers in order to make a watch waterproof. Your average diver these days is at least 200 meters, so yeah, it's a bit of an exercise in engineering for the sake of it by Christopher Ward, and I guess by people who buy this watch. So Sellita 200, I will come back to the movement a bit later on, but it does have no date but a ghost date position, but it hacks when you pull the crown out to the second position. Now, interesting, I haven't experienced this before. The crown up here at the 2 o'clock operates the inner rotating bezel, but it is not screwed down, but it only rotates in one direction, and it has 120 clicks. Very, very unusual. I guess that means you can actually use it underwater, which is not the case with a screw down crown, and that means that it's not going to get knocked near anything like it would if it wasn't screwed down. So yeah, a very interesting engineering exercise overall, this Christopher Ward. Let's stick with the dial and hands for now, but have a look at them through my macro lens outside in some natural light, and I think this is a very handsome looking watch. Not retro, but the hands and the indices specifically I think are a little bit old fashioned in a good way, of course. Very strong blue sunburst effect from this. So the Christopher Ward brand name, which is their new kind of logo, is printed in white underneath the baton at 12. You've got super compressor in orange and that 150 meters, 300 feet, rather small water resistance rating printed in white above the baton at 6. Those batons are applied. I'll give you a zoom in on them in just a minute. Batons look fantastic. We have little circular dots in orange with Lume. It's a kind of two-tone Lume effect. I'll show you that shortly. Just beyond the batons, minute markers, quite elongated minute markers again printed on, pointing in towards the dial, and fifth of a minute markers around the outer edges there as well, also printed in white. Now the inner rotating bezel, also in blue to match the dial, also printed in white, and it's kind of bold. It's a very interesting effect. Again, I'll show you a little bit closer in just a second or two. Prominent Arabics in white, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and a nice orange triangle picking out some of the other orange elements to the dial as well, and again printed minute markers. Actually useful if you are going to be taking this one diving. It's quite a simple handset in terms of the shape anyway, but interesting textures, interesting finishes, and interesting colours. The hour hand has got a brushed centre section, beveled high polish edges. The minute hand is all orange, differentiating it from the hour hand and meaning it's even easier to identify in low light conditions if you were diving, for example. Again, the orange theme continues with a paddle tip to the second hand, which does have the signature Christopher Ward Trident counterbalance. And if I show you the dial close up from an angle, check those indices. They look fantastic. So multifaceted and angled, wedge shaped, heading down towards the pinion. Very, very nice details of this one. Even when you go macro, no rough edges, no sharp edges, no dust. The whole thing looks great. And there's another shot outside of that light catcher cushion case, TM, and those two crowns. Now, I did say that the top crown, the inner bezel crown, that little anodized orange ring replicated the case back, and it does. There is the case back. So Sellita 200, as mentioned, with the Christopher Ward custom rotor, and again that kind of dual flag logo repeated ad nauseum on the rotor. Nice touch. But the interest here is not with the rotor, it's with that bright orange super compressor clip ring. Through those little windows there, you should be able to see a spring clip. That's the clip that actually makes this one more water resistant as the pressure on the case increases. As I said, how useful this engineering is in today's environment is a bit of a moot point, but it's great to see a company like Christopher Ward doing something different and bringing this technology back to the market in 2020. That's it on wrist. I still reckon this is a handsome big watch. That light catcher case in full effect there in combination with the sapphire crystal. Really, it's the high polish chamfered edge running end to end that interacts with that high polish bezel there. Overall, a nice looking piece. Balanced, 150 grams, I think is spot on for this size of watch, and that inbuilt micro adjust there, the inbuilt on the fly adjustment means you're always going to get a good fit. From the overhead shot from a little bit further back, you can see the difference that orange minute hand, the tip to the orange second hand, and that orange triangle make. They really do jump out against the blue, don't they? And it's the same again back outside in some sunshine. That orange really does pop off the blue, does it not? You can also see how strong the sunburst effect from the center section of the dial is in the sunshine. On wrist, nice weight, nice balance, and nice shape to that mid case. I'm not complaining about the lack of female end links today because it does curve nicely. It fits my 7-inch wrist very well indeed. But it's not all sweetness and light. It never is, and I am going to complain about a few things. Can you guess what they are? Well, what have I not shown you so far? I haven't shown you the Lume, have I? The Lume is not all that fantastic, to be honest. They claim this is X1 grade C1 Super Luminova, but when I turn the speed up, you can see that whatever they're calling it, it doesn't last very long. A little bit disappointing. Even the hands aren't all that visible at the end of the 20 minutes. It's probably more legible in daylight than it is after dark, this one. And I hadn't shown you the time grapher result either, had I? Not the first time I've come across a Sellita 200 or a Sellita 200 in the back of a Christopher Ward that's running plus 15 seconds per day. Now that is within its set of tolerances, but not that fabulous for a £1,000 watch. I would love to see them do a little bit of regulation in-house, sharpen that up a bit. I think that would just take the whole value package to the next level. And then there's the colour. Blue and orange is fun, but it's not going to be for everybody. But you do have another choice. It's another blue, but this time with a white bezel. As I said, it's 70s tech, but in a modern looking watch. They used to offer this one. They called it Black Sand. Unfortunately, I think those have gone, and they're not making any more in Black Sand because the blue was more popular, which is a bit of a shame. I'm not personally a big fan of blue watches, so that rather rules this one out for me. In fact, it rather rules it out for anybody that doesn't like blue, because that's the only choice that they're offering. And finally, I chose my t-shirt for the intro today quite deliberately. You don't have to spend £1,000 to get a watch that gets more water resistant the more pressure that's put on it. You can pay about 50 quid for a Vostok that does the same thing. So then, this is the fourth Christopher Ward that I've looked at on the channel, and I have been impressed with them all universally. Excellent build quality, excellent value for money, and some really nice design details. Is this the best of them? Well, not for me anyway. I would have loved a full retro Fotina version of this, and I don't know why they deleted that Black Sand colorway. But if you like blue, especially in combination with orange, and you appreciate their efforts to resurrect the technology of the super compressor, then for £1,000, I reckon this one is definitely worth the price that they're asking for it. So there you have it, another cracking watch by Christopher Ward, so long as you like blue. If you're a fan of the brand, and you must be to get to this stage of the video, why not check out a couple of previous reviews, the World Timer or the Sea Lander. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.